What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Josh, and today we're doing a review of the M40Xs. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer and partially bagging on myself here. I didn't like the M50Xs, and part of the reason is because both the M50s and these are marketed as a monitor or reference headphone. When I bought the M50Xs, I wasn't really paying attention to how they were marketed and what their sole purpose was, and so I utilized them primarily for music. And for music, I found them flat and boring, and yes, they were of a traditional reference sound quality, but that's not actually what I look for. So if you're looking for an analysis of this based off of some sort of music producing or monitoring, this is not the review for you. This is going to be for music and movies and the enjoyment of the sound and what I hear like a standard headphone review, but it's not going to be for your professional use. So before we get too far down that rabbit hole, I just wanted you to be aware of that. So as I mentioned before, I didn't like the M50Xs, but I really enjoy these. In fact, initially I had bought these and I was just planning on reviewing them, listening to them for a while and then reselling them. But I really like these. In fact, I bought the angled Brainwavz pads, and when I was doing the considerations for the review, I did take off and put on the Brainwavz pads as well as the original ones. I kind of tested them to see what changed, and the only thing that really changed was the soundstage was brought a little bit further out, and because of that, naturally the imaging had a little bit more to work with. Other than that, the highs, the mids, the lows, the quality, the texture of everything, if you turned it maybe 0.5% higher in volume, it would make up for everything. More of that doesn't really have to do with the original pads, although I did find those uncomfortable. But with these pads, they're pretty thick and it brings that driver pretty far away from your ear compared to the traditional sound. So that is something worth noting. I would definitely recommend these pads. They are more comfortable, although they don't look nearly as good. They're pretty bulky, but the original ones I just found completely unbearable. I couldn't listen to them for more than 20 minutes without it annoying my ear. Because I have pretty small ears, but it was pinching parts of my ear, which not good. The build quality is it's pretty good. I mean, for about $100 headphone, these are pretty solidly built, like they don't creak or anything. I did notice an issue where the ear cup, this left ear cup, it folds up way easier and doesn't require the same amount of force as the right one, which I find kind of odd and kind of annoying because sometimes when I'm trying to put it on, if I get it just right, it'll pop up and then I have to push it down, and it's kind of annoying. Not that big of a deal. It still works, but as you can see, like I'm not even trying and it just folds over, whereas the other one doesn't do that. The arms do hold pretty well. I wish that the clicks were a little bit more distinct and maybe a little bit more spread apart because it's hard to line them up exactly. Like it's hard to say like 4 clicks. Although they do have these markers on there, which kind of helps, but not really enough to make a huge difference, especially when it's on your head. You can't just feel the amount of clicks. And then some other basic stuff is it's got a detachable proprietary little twist cable. See those little grooves in there? Those so it can pop in and then lock. And I've been using the actual slinky cable. I actually don't mind this. I know a lot of people have a problem with this one. It comes with 2 cables. It comes with this slinky cable that unextended, it's about like 6 feet long. And then when you pull it, it's probably like 9 feet. And then the other cable I think is like 8 feet and it's a straight cable just like this. Same proprietary connector. That is something that I kind of have to bash Audio-Technica for, as a proprietary connector. I mean, I think it's always been a good idea to have an easily detachable cable. That way if you stand up and you yank your cable, it doesn't rip off your headphones, it just rips the cable out. Worst case scenario, you break the cable. You can fix that pretty easily, and it's easier to find aftermarket cables. Now onto sound. I do use these for video editing a little bit, and in that sense they pick up white noise very easily, but for music they are very pleasant to listen to. They don't have extreme bass, they're not a very colored headphone, but they sneak out of that reference range a little bit into the colored range, which I like. I enjoy it a little bit. I find that the highs are a little bit quelled compared to the M50Xs, which were good because on the M50Xs I found them quite fatiguing. On these they're pleasant to listen to. Long listening sessions are not an issue with these at all. They don't isolate vocals like a lot of Sennheisers do. Everything kind of is brought to, and this is part of that reference sound quality, everything is kind of brought to you at the same level. But I feel like they didn't sacrifice the quality of the sound for just how much of everything you're getting. See, I feel like what the M50s tried to do, and a lot of reference headphones try to do, is they want to take all the highs and the lows of the sound and they just want to bring them up and crunch them all together and feed it to you like a pancake. And that's not really what it should be like for listening to music, and that's not really what these do. These do a little bit of that, and they are my current preferred headphone for editing because it allows me to monitor everything. But they feed audio to you in a much more lively manner. It's much more pleasant to listen to. You don't feel like you're working when you're listening to these. You feel like you're listening to music and you feel like you're enjoying it. The sub bass does reach pretty far down, but it's not thunderous and it's not very impactful, which is something that I like a little bit of. I don't like boominess. I don't like that like just weird thick pressure that a lot of headphones like Bose and some of the Sonys apply. I like very smooth but very textured bass that also has a lot of impact behind it. These don't really have that, but you can hear the lower frequencies. They're definitely present. I have noticed that there's kind of a general lack of texture to everything, the highs, the mids, and the lows. They all tend to lack a little bit of texture. They have it, and it's not, I wouldn't consider it lacking, but something like a HD 598 or an SHP 9500, that will have better texture in almost all the ranges than this does. And that's probably a result of it trying to flatten its sound signature a little bit, because that was totally able to be overlooked and it didn't really impede what I listen to. I found the same songs that I normally find enjoyable on these, and enjoyable for a different way. And that's the important part. For a closed headphone, these do a really good job of not sounding compressed and not sounding like fatiguing. I feel like what Audio-Technica has been able to do with their whole line actually is relatively impressive. I feel like with closed headphones, they either go for extreme highs or extreme lows, and sometimes they get both of those, and it's just like a pain to listen to. But I did enjoy these things quite a bit, and if you're looking into getting them, I definitely recommend trying them. They do have a unique sound signature, kind of an Audio-Technica reference sound signature, especially their M line. I feel like that's really the one they're trying to market, especially with the M50X. Oh, and one more thing before they go, I want to talk about how they amplify. They handle amplification really well. Solid states kind of amplify the Audio-Technica sound signature. I don't really know how to explain that other than just kind of give a little bit more life to everything that I just said. On a tube though, the bass actually recedes a little bit, and I don't really like that. I'm not sure why it does that on tubes. The highs get bumped up a little bit. So for certain songs, I find that really enjoyable, especially songs that were lacking in highs to begin with. But vocals, it's starting to get into that relatively kind of like sibilant range, which I usually tend not to use this on the tube amplifier. And something really quick that does need to be brought up is the comparable headphones in the price range. So I'm not going to include the price of the pads on this one because that brings them up to like $130, $140. So I'm just going to go with a price range of about $100. And for a reference monitoring headphone, I think a Sony MD5 706 would be a little bit better. I think that they have a little bit better of range, and they flatten everything a little bit more. I think those are actually better than M50Xs too. And then for the non-audiophile people, I feel like a Bose SoundTrue around ear headphone, they're gonna isolate noise better than these do, and they're also going to have a little bit more of a colored sound signature. They're going to be a little bit more enjoyable for music, basically. But for my audiophiles, if you don't need closed back, I think a headphone that beats everything is going to be the Philips SHP 9500s. Now, I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing about these things, and if you've tried them, you can back me up in the comments, but if you haven't tried them, I think they're worth a shot. If you don't like the sound signature, then you can move on. But if you do like it, it's a really good option, and they're really cheap. You do have to deal with the slight quality control issues. When I got a pair, like the headphone slider on one side was like completely jacked up. Regarding total sound quality, I think they were really good. Anyways, thanks for watching. Until next time, my name is Josh. Have a good one.